So it wouldn't, I mean, for reasons I won't bore you with, I choose not to do short lease. I don't think it's a fair strategy on the vendor, to be honest with you. You don't really, I've got a policy that I only buy things if I bring something to the deal. And short leases, to be honest with you, an educated vendor could bring as much to the deal as you do. So I don't do short leases. It goes against my beliefs.
But on the same principle, I mean, if someone who's got a refurb for the house could refurbish it, and if you're just
but that's always a discussion I would have, Hamish.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go into. I mean, you know, I've got a lot of development sites, and the way I do my life very transparently. So if some people, when they're doing developments, try to hide it from the person they're developing, I tell them exactly what I'm going to do. And if they choose to do that, then I don't bring anything to the deal. However, a lot of the time, people will kind of go, it's not what I do. You know, I was speaking to somebody recently, and we're putting planning consent in for 60 houses. And I said, you can do this yourself. And he said, look, Paul, I'm an engineer. I said, yeah, I don't do engineering because I'm not very good at it. You're probably not very good at planning, but it's your call. You could do it yourself. So I'm very transparent with my numbers as well. So I just, if I went to somebody with a short lease, Hamish, and I said to them, you could do this yourself. And they said, no, I want you to do it, Paul. Pay me X. That's one thing. But I think there's a lot of vendors who aren't aware how easy it is to do a short lease. And I think there's people who specialise in taking advantage of that.
Yeah, no, I imagine, you know, it's property. There are a lot of people who take advantage on every level, isn't there? But it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you shouldn't do a particular strategy because, you know, as we know with property, there are a lot of people who make emotional decisions. People want to buy in or buy out or sell out there because of a particular situation. You know, the short lease that I've taken on at the moment is actually a vendor who bought in at a short lease, and she's had 15 years of the property at a short lease already since she paid cash to purchase it. And at no point in that 15 years did she decide that she wanted to extend the lease. And then she wanted to sell, and she wanted to do it as quickly as possible. So, you know, I put in an offer and was the only offer that she had for 7 months. So it's, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say it's, you know, taking advantage of someone. I would say that actually what I'm doing is helping her to get out because she accepted the offer in the end. She didn't at any stage want to do the short lease, and you know, at the very end, we had been discussing that I will need a Section 42 notice to be sent out from her side. So she was very aware of the process of that. So I don't think it's a strategy that you could necessarily say is taking advantage really of people.
It's an interesting discussion, and it's not the point of this room. We'll maybe have this chat offline. I wonder how educated the vendor is on doing a short lease, because if they were educated, they might choose to do it. They might not choose to do it, but the point I was making is that many people who do short lease as a strategy are reliant on, dependent on, and hoping that the vendors don't really understand the process. And they're using that knowledge to take, in my opinion, advantage. Now, did I say you shouldn't do short leases? No, you can do what you like, Hamish. It's your business. I said, I don't do short leases.
Yeah. But at the same time, I also think that, you know, where you say it's a simple strategy, it does depend on what the freeholders are like as well. You know, you have to wait until you get a response back from them, and freeholders can be particularly difficult. There's not really much advantage of being a freeholder unless people are going to extend their leases, let it gone short. So that's where they make their money.
I'm more than aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think with these things, isn't it? It's how you perceive it, how you look at it. I mean, I always think that inherently some people want to be knowledgeable and educated and try and find those things. Other people are not so interested. There's a lot of you don't know what you don't know. And inherently, if somebody has chosen to put a property on the market for whatever reason, we you know, sometimes you're not going to know, especially if it's on, you know, Rightmove and all those main places where I know that, you know, Paul tends not to go to those places at all. So you're going to be talking, you know, to a different model. I mean, I really like it round my way just because there's loads of them and people are, you know, really kind of fearful of it, and rightly so, because you don't know what you don't know. So unless you know how to do it properly and correctly, and yeah, absolutely, I'm a huge fan of doing everything ethically. Then yeah, it's an interesting one, and certainly what I'm finding is, as you say, Paul, if you're going in at the right price, then it does work well. But certainly, you know, some of these flats are very low priced anyway, and yeah, it's whether, like all these things, that the numbers stack at that sort of level. And certainly with this one in the eaves, it's kind of sort of thrown me a bit. It's a bit much for my maths, to be perfectly honest.